I'm actually going to do this a little bit differently. So my work is actually focusing on the online help seeking of young people and how they go online to seek help for mental health problems. Traditionally, help seeking for mental health has been presented with a lot of barriers. People are faced with lots of stigma. They need high levels of mental health literacy. They need to know where to go, and often like access to services is really limited for most people. So help seeking for mental health it's fairly poor for offline help seeking. But online help seeking is bringing a new dimension to this. So I want you to think about the last time you felt ill or you had some funny symptoms. What did you do? Most of us go to Google, type in what's going on, and then we look for like, oh my gosh, I might have this worst, tend to jump to the worst conclusions, but we do go to Google first to answer our questions. Now it's the same for mental health. When people are feeling a little bit off in terms of their emotions or their personal concerns, they do often turn to the internet to look for answers or more information. But people do this in various ways, especially young people, and we have a limited understanding of how young people are going online and looking for help for their mental health concerns. So the aim of my research is to develop an online resource that can facilitate the help-seeking process for mental health support and information. And I'm also interested in understanding the online help-seeking experience and behaviors of young people. When I started my project, I thought I had a really clear idea of what I wanted to do and what the tool would look like. But as is the nature of a PhD, you go through different experiences and you learn different things from each studies. And so the first part of my objective is still true. So I still want to create an online tool that facilitates help seeking for young people. And I still want to provide a positive experience and make it more an easier experience. However, I don't think the tool anymore will combine self-rating techniques and recommend it in that way. And that's just some of the things that I've learned through my studies, which I'm going to share with you. So my overall research questions are: how do young people who are experiencing mental health concerns seek help online? What are the benefits and limitations for seeking help online? And what can a web-based technology, how can a web-based technology assist the online help seeking process of young people? I'm using the Center for eHealth and Disease Management's roadmap to guide my thinking, because prior to starting my PhD, I had no experience in HCI at all, and so it can be quite overwhelming when you start a PhD and you're looking for something to guide you. So I've used this to guide my thinking. And so it starts off with a contextual inquiry. I've done that by using a systematic literature review, which was my first study, and then a needs assessment of stakeholders, which I've done through a survey. And then the next steps are still coming. So what I have, as I mentioned, my contextual inquiry activities are the systematic literature review and then an online survey. So my literature review focused on four questions. How do young people seek help online? What are the experiences of online help seeking? And what are the benefits and limitations of online help seeking? Some of the things that I found is that over 80% of young people go to Google first. That's their first port of call, as they use Google. They're information seeking for symptoms, so they're searching for their symptoms as well as for treatments for the things that they're experiencing. And that there's a fairly low use of mental health websites. So mental health websites that have been created to answer these questions aren't being found very useful by young people, and they're not making use of them. When are they doing this? Most young people tend to be doing this at night after 11 p.m. And you can think this is when you're alone. The chances that you'll be disturbed are fairly low, and you can control your privacy. Most of the time they're experiencing high levels of psychological distress. It seems to be very appealing to minority groups like members of the LGBTQI community. And these people are more likely to go online and ask and look for help online than they are to look for help offline. Some of the benefits of this is the anonymity that the internet offers. So you can search with the ease of access in that it's immediate. You can access something immediately. You can create a sense of community or find a community online that maybe understands what you're going through. And it's a gateway to further help seeking. So as people gain more information about what's going on for them, they understand, it actually might prompt them to seek help offline. Some of the limitations is mental health literacy. So if you haven't engaged with mental health services in the past, you don't always know where to go online. It can be very overwhelming. So if you don't know where to go, you're not finding the resources that you need. In some cases, it might prompt treatment avoidance. Because there's so much information, it might feel overwhelming. You might not be ready for those forms of treatment, and so you continue to avoid. And there are still concerns over privacy. So still that fear of stigma, still fear of people finding out. So for my literature review, I decided to do an online survey, and I decided to assess which areas of stress young people are currently experiencing, what are their help-seeking behaviors, how credible are they finding online resources, the barriers and facilitators they're experiencing online, and just their overall well-being. I had 1,308 respondents. So some of the key findings from that study is that the top three concerns for young people is school and college. So because the age range was from 18 to 25, some were still in high school and some were in college, and this was a key concern and a key stressor for most of them. The second one was body image, and the third was money. So this was major stresses in their lives. What I found in terms of their help-seeking behaviors is that most of them had a propensity for self-reliance. So this means that they are going online, but they are looking for ways that they can do things by themselves. How can I support myself to improve my mental health, rather than always connecting with someone else or another service provider? I asked them about forms like online counseling or apps that you can get on the App Store that are targeted at mental health, and there was a really low preference for these, which was really interesting. So we have these things that are created to support mental health online, but they don't seem to be well used or preferred by young people. I do have to mention that this is in the Irish context because I'm based in Ireland. These are Irish young people, and this might be different in different areas of the world. I asked them about credibility. So what makes an online resource to them credible? How do I trust that the information I'm getting here for my mental health, I can trust that? For most of them, if the health service or their college or school has endorsed that particular website, then that to them is a fairly good indicator that I can trust what's going on. If it's written by someone who seems to know what they're talking about, a professional, or if it's backed by research, they found it trustworthy. And what was really interesting is that they check multiple resources. So what young people are doing is and I think we all do this, we're just not aware of it, is we open multiple tabs, or we hyperlink from one page to the next and we keep them all open, and they cross-check across those websites to check what they're reading is actually valid. Some of the important facilitator was the ease of access, which is similar to what I found in the lit review. It's immediate, it's now, it's easy. The financial implications, so on the one side there's a lot of free resources on the internet, but there's also ones behind paywalls which aren't accessible to most young people, and so that's a substantial barrier. And they're still concerned with anonymity and privacy. These are really important to them. I had a key question at the end, and I asked young people, is it important to connect with another person online when you're seeking help? And this is an open response question, and I actually got 500 plus responses, which is a lot for an open response in an online survey. And And from that, I came up with 3 typologies, and that's 3 types of help seekers. You get the person-centered help seeker, who is looking to connect with someone, who is looking to sort of relay their experience and have someone validate what they're going through, or they're looking for that empathic experience. You get the information help seeker, who's very independent and doesn't want anyone else involved. They want to do this on their own, and they are self-reliant. And then you get the crisis help seeker. This is the person who needs help now, but they're not connecting offline, they're connecting online, and they want someone to help them now. And this is the most difficult person often, I think, to help. So bringing both these together, I've got to create a tool that has content, that has information pages, that contains personal stories and self-help strategies, and then it also has to have features. So I asked about features as well, and then people were saying that they want a comment section on information pages, and they want to be able to upvote comments. So if I'm experiencing depression and I write my comment at the bottom and someone else reads it and think, oh, I really identify with that, they want to be able to upvote it a lot like you would on Reddit. And there is this thing for wanting to connect live for some of the help seekers. And when we're thinking of designing this tool, we have to think about credibility, and so we have to make sure that we can hyperlink to other resources and get health service or schools or colleges on board to do that sort of thing. And then I want to try and design my tool to cater for these typologies that I found through the research. So my next key activity is a co-design workshop, and I'm going to recruit through a youth organisation in Ireland and still focus on the 18 to 25. And I'm going to create personas around the typologies that I've mentioned to do the co-design, and then go ahead. So my research questions there is, what is the ideal design of an online mental health resource for each type of help seeker to facilitate their help seeking? Which design elements are most important to each type of help seeker? And do different help seekers follow different help seeking journeys according to their needs? My final project and study for my PhD will be to test a low fidelity prototype. So I come from a psychology background, I have no programming experience, so it will be a very low fidelity prototype, but I think it will still be able to test and be a valuable study. And that's it. Thank you.